historians unearthed shocking DNA evidence of the lost tribes of Israel's mysterious legacy. Few knew what truly happened that night in the shadowy hills of Israel. A powerful storm raged, lightning flashing as if heaven itself was in turmoil. Amidst the chaos, something unusual stirred in the ancient soil, long-buried secrets that begged to be revealed. In the deep recesses of time, the lost tribes of Israel had vanished, their stories whispered only in the wind. The mix of hope and despair clung to the air, as archaeologists unearthed artifacts that told tales of bravery, faith, and pain. Could it be that these missing tribes were not lost after all? Could DNA provide the link to lives once thought to be mere myths? As they brushed away centuries of dust, inscriptions revealed messages of migration and struggle. The scrolls crackled under their touch, each word a heartbeat echoing through history. Ancient stories sung of their exiles, leading them into distant lands, across untamed deserts. The excitement was palpable, but the question loomed, heavy and pressing. Who were they? Where had they gone? Miracle after miracle surrounded the discovery. Some spoke of strange symbols that glowed under the moonlight, hinting at a profound connection with the divine. A dusty relic found alongside a human bone set hearts racing. Could DNA mapping from that bone reveal a heritage buried for millennia? Or was it merely a sensational tale? The tension grew. Scholars and skeptics clashed, voices raised in fervor, their expressions a mixture of fear and hope. Outside the excavation zone, townsfolk gathered, whispers bouncing from ear to ear. What if they come back? One woman exclaimed, her eyes wide. What if we're not alone? Questions filled the air, dread mingling with anticipation, creating a frenzied spark amidst the unearthed timeline. Silent gazes trailed the workers as they toiled, waiting for that announcement, a revelation that could change history forever. As dusk fell, a haunting silence enveloped the sight. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky crimson, as if warning of chaos ahead. What secrets were still buried beneath? What truth lay waiting just beyond the reach of understanding? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night deepened, the excavation site lay bathed in an eerie glow, the remnants of the storm reflected in the pockmarked earth. Nature seemed to hold its breath, as if awaiting the answer to the questions that had lain dormant for centuries. The archaeologists remained silhouetted against the flickering flames of their lanterns, their weary faces illuminated by the soft dance of light and shadow, embodying the dedication hammered into their very beings. Among them, Miriam, a young scholar with unyielding fervor, felt a pull deeper than her studies. The ancient stories of the lost tribes whispered to her heart, urging her to listen harder, to seek beyond the surface. Lasting impressions from her studies lingered. Tales of resilience, of nations forged in turmoil, undying hope in the face of despair. Yet, despite the thrilling discoveries, a gnawing uncertainty lay heavy upon her. Could she truly grasp the weight of their legacy? That night, as the hours dragged on, Miriam took a moment to step away from the frenzy. She wandered toward the edge of the site, where the moon cast silver beams over the undisturbed hills. It was a sacred space, where the earth seemed to pulse beneath her feet, and a sense of sacredness wafted around her like fragrant incense. Looking up to the sky, she began to ponder the meaning of divine providence etched in every artifact. Her thoughts shifted to the glowing symbols discovered earlier in the day. They were intricate and enigmatic, imbued with mystical energy. Professor Cohen had suggested that these could be a form of ancient communication with God, perhaps left by the tribes seeking his guidance during their trials. Miriam wondered if they still echoed across the time, vibrating through the souls of those who bore their blood. Were they searching for reconnection, Or were they content with their journey through the annals of history? With a soft sigh, she knelt beside a newly unearthed stone tablet. The inscriptions glittered with a faint luminescent quality, teasing her understanding. Drawing near, she traced a finger along the characters, and suddenly, a surge of electric energy coursed through her, igniting visions of a mighty journey. She imagined the faces of those lost tribes, their stories alive in her mind. Strength, pain, joy, and sorrow all mingled in a tapestry of existence. "Who were you?" she whispered into the night, her voice barely a murmur beneath the expansive cosmos. "What still binds us to your story? What legacy still longs to surface?" In her contemplation, she felt a wave of yearning, not just to know their past but to connect with its essence. Could they indeed return, as the townsfolk had speculated? Or was their legacy merely a collection of shards, disconnected pieces of a once glorious whole? As the hour grew late and her body demanded rest, Miriam stood up, brushing off the imaginary dust lining her knees. Yet, an insistent question lingered in her heart. What was it that she hoped to uncover? Could the resurrection of the past bring forth a new understanding? Or would it simply unveil more mysteries, an eternal quest for truth rather than resolution? Uncertain, but resolute, she made her way back to the light of the camp, her heart both heavy and hopeful. The secrets of the lost tribes still nestled in the earth, waiting patiently for the right moment to be revealed if indeed that moment ever came. As dawn broke, a pale light washed over the excavation site, providing a stark contrast to the shadows of the previous night. The air was cool, and a gentle breeze whispered through the remnants of the past, stirring the dust that enveloped ancient stones and forgotten stories. Miriam, unable to shake the weight of her contemplations, found herself drawn back to the stone tablet she had touched, a spark of curiosity igniting once more within her. The team busied themselves with their findings, yet Miriam's mind wandered to the shimmering glyphs etched into the stone, symbols of a language long forgotten. She marveled at the thought, what if these characters concealed a great mystery? A passage meant not only for the eyes of the learned but for the hearts of the seekers. Each curl and twist of the letters hinted at a force beyond mere historical data. They seemed to vibrate with life, a reminder of the countless souls who had poured their essence into the winds of time. As the early morning sun climbed higher, the encampment was abuzz with excitement. The team's linguist, Elias, had deciphered a portion of the inscriptions from the previous day, claiming they referred to a covenant, a promise made between the tribes and their god. "This is remarkable," he said, chestnut hair tousled from the night's work. "It echoes the covenant given to Abraham, a guiding light for generations." "What kind of covenant?" Miriam pressed, feeling a pull toward deeper meaning in his words. Elias paused, his expression shifting as if he were contemplating more than the words on the tablet. "It speaks of journeys, trials faced, and outcomes intertwined with faith. The lost tribes were not abandoned. They were set apart to fulfill a purpose that was not yet revealed. But there's mention of a sign, something that would bring them together again." Miriam felt her heart race. Was she a part of this unfolding narrative? Did the very excavation they were engaged in hold the key to understanding? Could this sign still be among us? What if this is just the beginning of their story returning to those who remain? As the morning unfolded, the group dug deeper into the site. The anticipation was palpable. Every tool that struck the earth unveiled layers of history. Wrapped in the revelations from the tablet, Miriam lost track of her team's movements, consumed in a vision of the tribes journeying across deserts and mountains, their faces illuminated by the flame of faith and desire for unity. Yet, her imagination halted abruptly when the ground beneath the excavator gave way, revealing a hidden chamber buried deep in the earth. Gasps erupted among the team as they carefully worked to expose the entrance. Miriam could hardly contain her excitement and fear. What treasures or truths might lie within? Just inside the entrance, something shimmered golden in the molten light that now broke through, an altar of sorts adorned with small, carefully carved tokens. Each token bore symbols similar to those she had touched the night before. She felt as if she had crossed a threshold into a sacred space, a direct link to the souls who once thrived here, breathing life into their prayers and dreams. "That it feels sacred," she whispered, reverently touching one of the tokens. A jolt of energy surged through her, not the same as before. This sensation was deeper, as if the fabric of time was merging with her spirit. It evoked echoes of prayer, chants that coursed through her architectural marrow. In that moment, Miriam understood they were meant to carry forth the legacy of those who had come before. She felt connected to the murmurs of destiny. She was not merely digging into the past, but rather restoring an unfinished covenant as the team gathered around. Awash with awe and admiration, questions brimmed in Miriam's heart, questions entwined with the sacred fabric of their discovery. Was this chamber a divine sign confirming the tribe's return, or merely an echo of history? Did their ancient spirits watch over them, guiding them back to the unity that had once defined them? Far from resolution, a new layer of mystery unfurled before their eyes. Miriam stood at the cusp of discovery, her spirit aflame with potential and uncertainty. In the face of the unknown, she pondered, what would they do with this revelation? Would the lost tribes of Israel rise through the past to reclaim their stories, or would they remain shadows, flickering in the recesses of memory? As the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the excavation site, the air thickened with a sense of reverence. The hidden chamber, now exposed to the fading light, seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own, vibrant and alive. Miriam and her team stood in a semicircle, the golden tokens gleaming like stars in the twilight, and each moment hung laden with expectation. Elias leaned closer, examining the symbols carved into the surface of the altar. These tokens represent the tribes, he said softly, his fingers tracing the grooves as if they would reveal their secrets through touch alone. This one here could signify Judah, and that one perhaps Levi. His brow furrowed in thought. If we could decipher each symbol, perhaps we could understand the purpose behind this gathering. Miriam's gaze drifted from one token to another, each a thread in the tapestry of a lost history. But what if these tokens are more than mere representations? What if they are, as the inscriptions hinted, the catalysts for something new? Her mind raced with possibilities. Could their discovery awaken a spirit, or perhaps even summon a collective memory that would inspire action among those who sought their heritage? Just then, a low rumble echoed in the earth beneath them as the ground trembled ever so slightly. Fear gripped Miriam's heart as she felt the air shimmer around them. The vibrations seemed to resonate not just through the stone but within her very being. Could it be a sign? A warning? The team looked at each other, uncertain. Yet there was an undeniable thrill coursing through them. They stood on the brink of something profound. Recovering from the shock, the group gathered in a huddle, whispering speculations. We must document everything, Miriam insisted, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Whatever power lies here, we should not treat it lightly. This isn't just about history. It's about healing. Suddenly, a flicker caught the corner of her eye. One token, distinct from the rest, shimmered vibrantly, as if imbued with light from another realm. Miriam stepped closer, entranced. As she neared, she realized that it was larger and heavier at its center. A symbol she could not immediately recognize glowed faintly. Tentatively, she reached out, gripping it firmly. The metallic warmth surged through her palm, and memories flashed vividly. Images of laughter and tears, of prayers rising with the smoke of incense, of families divided yet united in spirit. The altar seemed to breathe along with her, absorbing her awe and longing. "What do you see?" Elias asked, his voice tinged with urgency. I see them," she stammered, her breath catching. "I see the families, the sacrifices, the promises made and broken." Tears welled in her eyes as she felt their pain and their hope. In that moment, she understood this was not merely a historical excavation but a plea from the past to bind hearts and souls together once more. A profound silence descended upon the group as they shared in her vision, lost in the weight of the emotions coursing between them. Only a distant chant, barely audible, seemed to rise from the depths of the chamber, echoing the ancient longing for unity. Could it be that they never truly left? Miriam pondered aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe they've been waiting for us, waiting for someone to remember." to call them home as the darkness enveloped them and the stars sprinkled across the night sky. A lingering question hung in the air. What awaited them at the crossroads of history and destiny? Would their discovery lead to revival? Or were they merely unearthing fragments of a dream long past, forever lingered yet never fully realized? The echoes of that distant chant seemed to draw them deeper into the chamber. A siren's call woven with the texture of time. The shadows curled around them, and as they stood together in their small circle, Miriam felt an unshakable pull towards the ancient altar. The radiant token still rested in her hands, warmth radiating against her skin, as though the echoes of the past were yearning for acknowledgement. With each breath, she felt a shared heartbeat resonate with her team. It was as if the very air held fragments of prayers long forgotten, whispers of hopes that had survived the passage of centuries. What direction should they take? As the sun had set outside, illuminating the sky with fading hues of orange and purple, their journey illuminated the caves of history within them. "Let's explore further," Elias said, breaking the stillness that wrapped around them like a cloak. "There might be more secrets hidden here, more signs." Intrigued yet hesitant, the group inched forward, the flicker of their lanterns dancing against the stone walls, illuminating inscriptions that spoke of journeys, unity, and revelry. One particular inscription drew Miriam in, its lines intertwining in a script she vaguely recognized. It spoke of a gathering, a covenant reaffirmed among the tribes. "When the children of the earth unite, the roots of destiny shall bear the fruit of remembrance." The words weighed heavily on her heart, the notion of unity wrapping around her as she contemplated its implications. What if this is what they meant? Miriam mused aloud. What if they're waiting for us to come Togetherdo unite, just as the inscription suggests? A murmured agreement rose among the team, as they considered the possibility that this excavation could serve as more than just an academic venture. What if they were being called to be stewards of a legacy? A surge of excitement mingled with trepidation flared within her. Could it be that they were meant to awaken the dormant spirit of their ancestors, to bridge the gap between the past and present? As they ventured deeper, the chanting intensified. It was almost melodic, rising and falling like the tide, compelling and raw. Miriam's heart raced. Was she perhaps hearing the ancestral hearts beat in unison, summoning the living to embrace the lessons of history? Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted slightly, as if responding to their growing awareness. The tinkle of dust fell from the ancient stones above, and a single beam of light broke through a crevice in the ceiling, illuminating another altar-like structure adorned with intricate carvings that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Before they could approach, Miriam held the shimmering token up towards the source of light. Instantly, energy surged between them, echoing through her bones with a sensation both unsettling and renewing. She felt a knot in her throat as visions of the ancient tribes emerged anew, scaling the walls of her mind, each with stories and wisdom to share. "Miriam," Elias whispered, pulling her back to the present. "What are they telling you?" She opened her mouth to speak, but the words were caught in the depths of her soul. Instead, she turned her gaze from the token to the altar ahead, her heart brimming with questions. The flickering light seemed to paint narratives across the chamber, intertwining personal tales with collective struggles. Could it be, she posited, that we are meant to uncover not just their legacy, but also our shared journey? A hush fell over them, the urgency of their task mingling with the spiritual gravity of the moment. They were not mere historians, but conduits for the voices of the lost tribes. Their discovery unfolded a tapestry of connection that beckoned them to honor those who came before to end that sacred stillness. A lingering question took root within them. Were they prepared to embrace the weight of responsibility that such an awakening entailed? With purpose igniting in their hearts, could they mold their own destinies into a new narrative, one that honors the echoes of the past while daring to envision a future forged in unity? As they stood before the altar, captivated by the shimmering light and the ancestral energy that thrummed within the air, Miriam lifted the radiant token higher, allowing its warmth to wash over her. Whatever secrets lay buried within the stone, they felt poised on the edge of discovery, a thread of destiny connecting them with those who had tread this land before. What if this is why we were drawn to each other? Miriam pondered, her voice soft yet filled with purpose. What if we each carry a part of their legacy within us, waiting for a moment like this? The thought reverberated in the stillness, prompting a pause among her companions. Elias stepped closer, studying the altar. But how do we unlock it? How do we connect with what they left behind? His brow furrowed in concentration. The inscriptions, vivid and alive, hinted at a method, a way to awaken the memories that lay dormant. As the group examined the carvings on the altar, inner voices seemed to guide their exploration. Each figure and symbol portrayed images of unity, sacrifice, and the mirroring of their own lives. Miriam traced her fingers over a depiction of two hands clasped together, wrapped around a tree that bore fruits of every kind. Perhaps it is through sharing what we learn that we become the vessels of this legacy, she suggested, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. Suddenly, a breeze blew through the chamber, sending shivers down Miriam's spine. The flickering lantern flame bent toward the stone door at the far end, hinting at a hidden passageway. Was this a sign, or merely a trick of the mind? The chant that had been rising in intensity now seemed to crescendo, urging them forward as if the very essence of the lost tribes longed for connection. "Let us not fear the unknown," said Leah, her voice steady. "We were brought here not merely to discover but to unite. Each carving sings of their hopes if only we listen." With resoluteness, she began to walk toward the illuminated passage, her shoes echoing against the stoniest sound that seemed to harmonize with the chanting point one by one. The others followed Leah's lead, drawn by an invisible thread that pulled them toward the beckoning door. The air thickened with anticipation, a sweet tension that spoke of liberation. As they crossed the threshold, the high vaulted ceilings loomed over them, and the walls began to pulse with faint colors like a heartbeat. What if this journey reveals not just their story, but our own? Miriam whispered again, the question settling over them like a mist full of possibility yet interlaced with doubt. At the edge of the chamber, the passage opened into a vast hall, dimly lit yet alive with ethereal light. The walls were inscribed with vivid illustrations of life. Families gathered in joy, warriors united in purpose, and elders sharing wisdom. Instinctively, they formed a circle, the radiant token resting in the center like a centerpiece of their gathering. "What does it mean?" whispered Elias, eyes wide. "What are we meant to do here?" In that moment, Miriam's heart surged with understanding, a sudden clarity bursting forth. Perhaps they are beckoning us to continue the act of gathering to celebrate our diverse paths yet honor the unyielding ties of our histories. It was as if the very atmosphere compelled her to think out loud. But what do they ask of us? The chanting shifted, a soft murmur that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, whispering tales of sacrifice and love, echoing the sentiments of long-forgotten dreams. It danced through the hall like a gentle breeze, hinting that their path of discovery was only just beginning. Yet within the walls of that mystical hall lingered an unshakable Tenziona realization grasped at the edges of their minds. The question that hung above them was not only what had been lost but what it would mean to reclaim it. Were they prepared to delve deep into the connection between their lives and those who walked before them? What cost would they pay to honor the legacies intertwined with their own? The air thrummed with promise, yet uncertainty, swirled like shadows at the corners of their gaze. Would they find the answers they sought, or merely a deeper veil of mystery waiting to be uncovered? The air grew heavy with expectation as the circle tightened around the radiant token, its glow pulsating softly, syncing with their heartbeats. Each pulse sent ripples through the stillness, reverberating the hopes and fears they each carried within. The ancient hall breathed around them, a collective spirit intertwined with their own. Elias broke the silence, his voice quivering with emotion. What if we are indeed the fulfillment of their unspoken dreams? The promise for a new beginning? His eyes sparkled with conviction, yet a shadow flickered across his expression, reflecting questions that danced unspoken in the air. Driven by an unseen force, Miriam picked up the token, its warmth flooding her senses. She held it against her heart, feeling a surge of Vigilanza tapestry of lives woven across time. The faces of those before her emerged in her mind, eyes filled with determination, laughter, sorrow, and above all, a profound love for their community. What if our strength lies in the blending of our stories, in the collective resonance of our past and present? She said, pondering the intertwining of legacies. The murmurs around them began to change, no longer just whispers but distinct words rising from the walls, like spirits long awaited to speak. Unite, learn, remember, they echoed, urging Miriam and her companions to listen not only with their ears but with their hearts. As if synchronized, the group stepped forward, drawn toward a mural that dominated one wall. It depicted a great tree with roots reaching deep into the earth and branches stretching toward the heavens. "Look," Leah exclaimed, pointing to an inscription carved into the base of the tree. It reads, "In unity we find strength." "What does this tree symbolize?" Elias asked, furrowing his brow as they examined the intricate details of its leaves, each one telling a different story, each branch representing a different path. "Perhaps it signifies our connection," Miriam suggested softly. Each person represented each tribe, each family linked together. Yet, if we are branches of this tree, what do we need to nourish our roots? This question sparked a spark in the hearts of her companions, each considering their own ancestral ties and the gifts they carried. And yet, a heavy veil of worry crept over the group as the realization settled in. They were not merely custodians of the past. They were stewards of challenging truths, ones that might require sacrifice. As if reading their thoughts, the murmurs of the hall shifted again, becoming insistent. "You will face trials to fulfill this duty," they warned, their voices weaving through the air like a warning breeze. "Only through understanding pain can you uncover true resilience." Miriam felt the weight of their gaze, a call to action that couldn't be ignored. What darkness must we face? She pondered aloud. What truths will unravel before us as we tread this path of understanding? As they deliberated, a sudden gust of wind rushed through the hall, swirling dust and light, and the faces within the murals seemed to shift and sway as if acknowledging their presence. The echo of time enveloped them, leaving behind questions that loomed larger than the answers they sought. The presence of the divine was palpable, urging them forward. "Only by confronting our own fears can we understand theirs," Leah mused quietly, her face illuminated by a newfound resolve. "We must honor their legacy through authenticity, even if the path forward is unclear." Yet the question lingered, heavy as the air around them. What trials awaited them on this journey? What burdens of knowledge would they bear? And would they emerge stronger, or forever altered by the truth they sought? As the token continued to pulse, resonating with their joined hopes and uncertainties, they stood on the precipice of a revelation that could change everything they ever thought they knew. As the last echoes of the voices faded into the depths of the ancient hall, a quiet stillness enveloped the group once more. The light from the token flickered, casting playful shadows that danced across the walls, mimicking the uncertainty thrumming within their hearts. Miriam tightened her grip on the warm object, its energy like a heartbeat of history that intertwined with her own. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, highly attuned to the powerful undercurrents of the moment, each of them animated by a force far beyond their comprehension. They exchanged glances imbued with both wonder and trepidation. Elias, his brow knotted, took a step toward the mural, studying the facial expressions depicted. These people lived before us, endured before us. They had fears, dreams, and perhaps failures. Do we dare to dive into the depths of their pain? His voice was laden with the weight of 1,000 untold stories. Miriam nodded, her heart racing. We mustn't forget that our journey is not solely about discovery. It's about transformation. The thought settled like a warm ember against the cool winds that prowled the hall. To honor their legacy, we must bring their stories into the light of our own. Leah, emboldened by their words, stepped forward. And perhaps it's in facing our own shadows that we give their struggles meaning. What if they were waiting for us to bridge the gaps, to weave together our disparate tales? In that moment, the air sparkled with potential, yet a heavy silence followed Leah's proclamation. The echo of their thoughts began to weave a tapestry of uncertainty. What kind of pain had those before them endured, and how could they unearth such truths without losing themselves in the process? As if the walls themselves sensed their internal conflict, a rumble resonated through the hall. A warning whisper brushing against their ears. The truth is not always gentle. The past is laced with echoes of betrayal, despair, and the yearning for redemption. Miriam's breath hitched in her throat, as she envisioned a journey that might lead them into the very heart of darkness itself. Are we prepared to face that darkness? She asked, a hint of fear creeping into her voice. What if our very identities are challenged? In unity, we find strength, Leah reminded them, her voice steadier now, yet still cautious. Perhaps this trial lies not just in what we learn but in how we respond. We must embrace each other's vulnerabilities and fears as we explore our shared history. Elias cast his gaze back to the mural, pondering beneath its timeless watch. But does embracing mean condoning? Can we truly forgive and reconcile with what may have been done in the name of our ancestors? The question lingered thick in the air, intertwining with the flickering light of the token, urging them toward an understanding that was not yet clear. A sudden rush of memories swept through Miriam, moments from her childhood spent listening to elders, stories of valor and regret. What if within those tales lies the key to healing? She finally eschewed an idea taking root. But just as hope began to bloom, the voices from the mural shifted again, pressing their weight upon the gathered group. You must not only listen but also act. Change is a seed that must be watered with boldness, for time waits for no one. Miriam felt a chill run through her spine. What if we act out of turn? What if our actions unwittingly repeat the faults of the past? Then we learn, Leah interjected, a fierce determination in her tone. We are not bound to their mistakes, but perhaps we are called to break cycles of despair. Yet the unanswered questions clung to them like shadows. How would they know when to act decisively? And were they prepared to unravel the intricacies of their own history interwoven with pain, growth, and, ultimately, the possibility of new beginnings? As the token pulsed gently, it resonated with their collective uncertainty, the promise of discovery laying on the threshold of eternity. What awaited them in the journey ahead? How would they gather the courage to confront both their own hearts and the ancient legacies that define them? In the lingering silence, the faint pulse of the token grew stronger, casting a warm glow that enveloped the four companions. Their surroundings seemed to breathe with life, as if the very air was laden with the weight of forgotten tales yearning to be shared. Each flicker of light ignited the embers of their resolve, pushing them toward the unknown depths of their lineage. With a lingering gaze, Miriam stepped proudly into the heart of the chamber. Let us invite the shadows into our light, she said, her voice steadying the collective anxiety that gripped them. If our ancestors are to guide us, we must seek their stories boldly. Elias echoed her sentiment, but his tone remained cautious. Boldness is admirable, yet wisdom must also guide our steps. We must approach the past not as conquerors, but as humble seekers. The thought resonated, weaving a common thread among them. Leah pondered, sweeping her eyes across the mural's intricate depictions. Do you think they wished for someone to validate their struggles, to acknowledge their pain? Perhaps they hoped their legacies would not be forgotten but carried forth into new generations. A deep sense of empathy washed over them, and Miriam felt the gentle warmth of the token reassuring her presence. What if, by acknowledging them, we unlock the wisdom buried within their suffering? Their history is ours, woven together in sacrifice, hope, and dreams unfulfilled. As her words took root, the figures in the mural appeared less distant, more engaged. They seemed to beckon the group closer, hungry for interaction. Elias instinctively took a step towards the wall, longing to touch the faces portrayed. Can we truly connect to their lives, to their struggles? He wondered aloud. What stories of suffering and triumph dwell within this art? Perhaps we must search not only for grand narratives but the small, personal details, Leah suggested thoughtfully. The little gestures of love, the moments of despair, the quiet victories, these are the threads that bind us to each other across time. The idea hung in the air, vibrant with possibilities. The token flickered gently, as if encouraging them to explore further. Miriam felt a stirring in her heart, an eagerness mingling with uncertainty. What tools do we possess that can help us to face both the beauty and the darkness of our past? Their voices drifted into the stillness, hanging heavily, before they broadened the conversation, each seeking to unravel the recipe for healing embedded within their collective history. Miriam recalled the stories she'd heard, each murmur of the elders echoing into her consciousness. Courage, compassion, and forgiveness might just be the vessels we need to traverse the waters of the past. Elias nodded with a distant look in his eyes. But how do we forgive what feels unforgivable? Is it right to hold our ancestors accountable for their actions without understanding the context of their struggles? This question grazed the surface of uncharted waters, stirring irritation and reflection alike. The air thickened with an unspoken acknowledgement of the world's brutal realities, the conflicts that reshaped destinies, the silent tears that now tainted the histories celebrated through generations. As the flickering light intensified, Leah mused, what if our struggle to forgive is also a struggle to carry forward our ancestors' true Deseresto understand and heal? Each person fell silent, consumed by the weight of their shared contemplation. The flickering glow cast them in a mystical light, prompting questions about their own aches and triumphs intermingled with the hopes of those who had come before. What burdens did their ancestors carry that still affected them today? And could wisdom be found among the echoes of grief and joy alike, waiting to transform their understanding of faith and legacy into an interwoven tapestry of new stories waiting to unfold? The token's energy pulsed invitingly, suggesting that the journey ahead would hold revelations rife with both risks and blessings. The question lingered in their hearts. Were they prepared for the challenge of claiming their stories, daring to rewrite the legacies of old? As the shimmering glow of the token enveloped them, Miriam and her companions stood on the precipice of a revelation, their hearts heavy with anticipation. The ancient hall pulsed with energy resonance that transcended time itself, echoing the possibilities of what lay ahead. With each flicker of light, they felt the weight of expectations and hopes, not just of their ancestors, but of their own spirits yearning for connection and understanding. Miriam stepped forward, the token cradled in her hands, its warmth seeping into her skin like a forgotten memory awakening. We must not merely seek knowledge for knowledge's sake, she declared, voice resolute. Instead, we seek a path toward healing not only for ourselves but for those who came before us. We owe them that. Elias, standing beside her, nodded in agreement. In facing their pain, we mustn't shy away from our responsibility. There are truths we may uncover that could reshape everything we know about ourselves. His face was etched with determination, yet shadows of fear danced in his eyes. But what if uncovering these truths unreveals more darkness than light? Are we ready for that? Leah, her heart stirring with the passion of their quest, spoke with fervor. Perhaps the darkness is only a reflection of our own fears, a mirror to the collective struggles that connect us to the tapestry of our history. If we approach our ancestors with compassion and empathy, we may find the strength to transcend their mistakes. The air thickened with yearning, as if the very walls listened, awaiting their unified resolve. With a deep breath, Miriam raised the token high above her head, its glow crescendoing, illuminating everything around them. If their spirits linger here, let us invite them to join us. Let us honor their legacy with our willingness to learn from the pain they endured and the wisdom they had to share. Around her, the team linked hands, forming an unbreakable circlean embodiment of unity that transcended time and space. In that sacred moment, a vibration rippled through the hall, and the whispers crescendoed, very much alive, beckoning them to hear their tales. Faces from the murals shifted. They seemed to lean closer, eager for acknowledgement. Miriam closed her eyes, surrendering to the connection that blossomed in her chest. Ancestors of lost tribes, we hear you, she called out, her voice carrying authority and reverence. We acknowledge the pain you faced and the burdens you carried. Guide us now, that we may weave your stories into our lives, that we may find healing among the shadows. The chamber erupted with a warmth that enveloped them like a protective cloak, and the pulsations of the token intensified, resonating with their collective heartbeat. A soft wind swirled around them, lifting the strands of hair on their skin, intertwining their lives with the essence of those they sought to honor. The chanting morphed, transforming into a harmonious hymn symphony that blended the past and present into a singular moment of recognition. Visions flooded Miriam's mind. She saw ancestors standing hand in hand, bridging divides that separated them, their burdens carried not in isolation but in community. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she absorbed the depth of their sacrifices, their struggles transformed by love, unity, and unwavering faith. Together, we survive, she breathed, her heart swelling with the weight of the revelation. This is our calling, Toby, the conduits of their love, their strength, their stories. Her voice rang with conviction, echoing through the chamber and touching the walls, which responded with a gentle resonance. Elias, consumed by the moment, spoke into the silence that followed. They may have faced betrayal, sorrow, and strife, but their legacies live on in us. We stand here not simply as archaeologists or historians, but as bearers of their light, propagators of their healing. As the last echoes of their words dissipated into the atmosphere, a profound stillness settled over them, suffused with hope and possibility. The token pulsated, gently, aglow with ancient energy, and in that simple act of connection, they understood. Their journey must not only preserve the lineage of the tribes but strive to realize their purpose anew. In this unfolding convergence of past and present, Miriam felt a profound transformation within her spirit. No longer was she a mere seeker of hidden artifact but a thread interwoven into a larger narrative rich with application and meaning. The walls around them vibrated, exuding warmth and acceptance as if affirming their newfound resolve. "We must carry this forward," Leah declared, grounding the experience beyond the confines of their excavation. "We must embrace our community, not just here in this ancient hall but back in our lives through our actions, relationships, and choices. Let the unity we feel here ripple into the world." Miriam looked at her friends, their faces alight with purpose and determination. "This is only the beginning. We will share these stories, lift the veils of darkness, nurture the seeds of healing, and bring forth the wisdom of those who paved the path before us." Together, they felt the energy of the chamber shift, a gentle acknowledgement of their promise, and with newfound courage, they took steps forward as one toward an illuminating future. With each step, a legacy not only reclaimed but reborn danced at the edges of their vision. A legacy rooted in love and reconciliation that reverberated across time, yearning to be lived out in the light of their shared humanity. As they exited the hall, the token's glow still vibrant in their hearts, the past intertwined seamlessly with their Levisa tapestry, woven with courage, faith, and unwavering hope. They understood now that the ultimate lesson of the lost tribes was not loss but remembering, of rising into a brighter dawn, resolute in unity, and forever transformed by the stories that lingered in the winds of time, awaiting their embrace. Moses said, "Remember, you are a people destined for greatness." Miriam whispered, her heart abounding with conviction, as they emerged from the shadows into the warm embrace of morning light. "Let us fulfill that promise, and carry forth the legacy of the tribes together." And in that moment, they knew they were not left behind in the annals of history. They were the bearers of truth, and through their shared journey, they would awaken the dreams of their ancestors into a new reality, one defined by faith, unity, and boundless love, echoing across generations yet to come.